many of you have a smartphone? Okay, as you can see, all of us own a smartphone. According to Statista.com, 149.2 million people own smartphone in US. Smartphone became part of our life. We can easily check our emails, research website, and do many other things on the spot with this handheld device. Smartphone benefit us in many ways, however, it is affecting our communication skills. An article from USA Today indicates that a study conducted by online game company found that 1 in 4 people spend more time socializing using smartphone than they do in person. The study also found that up to 11% of adults prefer to stay home and communicate through smartphone on weekends instead of going outside and seeing people face to face. Today, I am here to tell you about negative effects of smartphone on communication skills. First, I will explain how smartphone affect communication skill. Then I will explain problems of lack of communication skill. And lastly, I will explain why it is a growing problem in current society. Smartphone affect our communication skill by decreasing conversations. According to PhoneArena.com, the average phone call is now 50% shorter than it was 5 years ago. It was about 3 minutes and 20 seconds in 2008, but it reduced to 1 minute and 40 seconds in 2013. Also, smartphone decreased face-to-face conversation. It was 80% in 2000, but it was reduced to 70% in 2010. As the face-to-face conversation decreased, there's a rise of text messaging. There was 14 billion text messages in 2000, and it increased to 188 million in 2010. As the smartphone became more popular, 32% of people would prefer to communicate by texting rather than by phone call or in person, even though they know the person really well. Lack of communication leads to problems in social skills. An article from the MichiganDaily.com indicates that a study showed that frequent smartphone users would be less likely to talk with strangers in public setting due to telecoupling effect, and they're less likely to communicate in public. And we can easily observe this by looking at our classroom before the lecture time, because instead of talking to their neighbors, students tend to play with their smartphones. The article also indicates that 13% of people have pretended to be using their phone in order to avoid interacting with people around them. Due to lack of communication experiences, people do not know how to properly communicate during certain situations such as interviews, because they're losing the necessary skills to hold or even start a face-to-face conversation because they're used to text conversation by using smartphone. An interview from AP.org by Janice Stenberg, a communication media studies professor at Fordham University, New York, said more and more students do not look in the eyes and have trouble with basic of direct conversation and send emails instead of coming to office hour in order to prevent the face-to-face conversations. Also, an article from Psychology.com said that when communication skills are gradually lessened, people began spending less time talking with families and with friends, and this leads them to experience more daily stress, and they feel more lonely and depressed. Lack of communication also causes other problems. According to the article from WND.com, shows the lack of communication skill may interfere with people's ability to convey ideas clearly, and people have difficulty in public speaking. And also, the increasing people use words like nearly before every noun, adjective, or adverb, because people's ability to think fast in conversation is weakening, so they're buying time using the word like. The reason that smartphone is affecting our communication skill is because according to Barbour, author of Louder Than Words, nonverbal communication. The total impact of giving messages during conversation break down as 7% verbal, 38% vocal, and 55% body movement. So as you can see, most of the communication is nonverbal. So when we are having conversation using smartphone through text messaging or social network, we are missing more than 50% of conversation parts. And people learn communication skill by having conversation with each other face to face, and this leads to deep conversation. And conversation through text and social networking cannot lead to deep conversation because people are missing the nonverbal part of the communication. And lack of communication skill is growing problem because it is affecting the children. An article from the lens.org states that the increasing use of smartphone in children will make them difficult to learn communication skill since they are using smartphone as a conversation at a time when their interpersonal skills have not yet fully formed, and this will impact them when they become adults, and they will have a hard time asking for help and preventing them from being proactive with things in their life. Lack of communication also leads to bullying and victimization in children because poor communication skill can cause depression, low self-esteem, and anger in children because they have hard time expressing their thoughts and feelings clearly. Also, as the more children use the smartphone, they use abbreviation formal words such as LOL or OMG during the conversation, and this causes them to become unfocused and sidetracked during the face-to-face conversation, and this will impact when they become an adult because they will not know how to properly have a face-to-face conversation. As you can see, a smartphone not only benefit us, but it also harm us by taking away one of our most essential life skills, communication. Communication skills are very important because researchers have found that word of mouth exchange and in-depth conversation are still most influential than written text conversation. Today, I explained how smartphone affect communication skill, problem of lack of communication skill, and why we should consider this problem. This problem is unavoidable because smartphones have rooted into our daily life deeply, and as technology of smartphone advance, usage of smartphone will continue to increase, and children will get hands-on smartphone in much younger ages. Therefore, more people will lose their communication skill, and in the future, the speech class will become part of course prerequisite for all majors instead of elective because people lost their communication skills.